Testing. Testing. Sound check. Okay, I need to edit some stuff that I apparently forgot to do. Ugh, Aina's gonna kill me. Okay, I kind of like changed the video thumbnail, but I don't know how long it will take to like take effect. And yes, for the people who are wondering, it is the second time I'm streaming for today. No, I'm not gonna go like anywhere, but I decided to use this opportunity as some kind of platform for me to showcase the free e-course, right? I'm still trying to get the link for this. It's not happening. I want to cry. What's going on? Stream health is good. My internet doesn't like me today. How do I get this link? Alright, just give me a moment. Like, technical difficulties. I did not plan this stream, so it's kind of obvious that it's not ready. Like, I'm not ready. Okay, let me just get that link. And then just throw it in Discord. Ta-da! Okay, so hopefully it works. Alright, so today is kind of like a new stream. Because... yeah, okay, so some of you know that I'm doing blogs, weekly blogs. Some of you also know that I am doing some free stuff. Like, when I talk about free stuff, I mean e-course based on this blog. So I do this like weekly. You can check here. Like, if you come to my Discord, which is in the link, you should see all this. So these are like weekly blogs over here. So subscribe to Tiny Army's role if you want to get these. And I actually update all these links when they are published in like, okay, so these are the blogs that I do. So some of it I put into this e-course that I packed together. So they are like 6 levels. It's completely free. I am borrowing my Patreon itself to do this because it's easier that way. So if you click on this link, it brings you to my Patreon page, which obviously this is like made public. So you can click on links like that and then look through the course. Like, these are like the blogs. Okay, so these are the ones. Everything you need is here. So before you begin, like understanding the e-fiction world, understanding readers, understanding the whatever knots, the good and the bad of writing e-fiction before you start. And then after that, there's like level 2, level 3, 4, 5, and 6 eventually. Of course, the blogs that I'm writing are catered more towards web novelists in itself. Because what is wrong with YouTube? Okay, so because I don't see a lot of things targeted for web novel writers, and web novel is rather new. Like, when they brought webnovel.com over and I joined, it was 2 years old or something. So I've been here for like maybe 3 years, maybe 4. So they are like less than 10 years old, and they've gotten so far. So the culture of writing a web novel is kind of new, which is why I'm creating this guide, because there isn't much public guides out there. And a lot of people, okay, it started off with Wattpad, but they don't really give you like details on how to do what you gotta do well. So I'm here like trying to supplement the writers, which is, I guess this is why my YouTube channel is kind of growing. I still need like 500-ish likes, I guess. But no, not like subscribers. But anyways, today I want to go through this part here. This is under course number 2, getting started. So I'll just like close this and refer to this. Okay, so I have a sample here of Aina's new chapter for The Mafia Boss is my web novel reader. Did I get the title right? I got it wrong the last time. Oh, web novel fan. I still got it wrong. I'm so sorry. I am the co-author of this, do not worry. I'm not very... Okay, maybe I should ping people. Okay, never mind. You guys can watch on playback. Right, so today's topic is going to be here. Under the editing... Where is pacing? Not this. Where is pacing? Pacing. Is it number 3? Finding your niche. No, not this. Okay, so where to start? Lesson 3, so 3.2. Today we're gonna go through this. So I actually want to address this topic which has been bothering Aina for a little while, because while I'm co-authoring, I'm also mentoring. It's XXX not because there is, smut, but because we haven't got a chapter title, so don't mind this. It's like still in the rough. This is, I'll admit, it's the second time I'm seeing this chapter. So the first chapter I actually dropped a lot of. Okay, under types of editing there are, okay, the blog will be coming up. It's not up yet. There is something called developmental edit, structural edit. So that was kind of what we were doing in the first round. This is the second round that I'm seeing this, which means I'm going to be line editing, and I'm going to be like, going into details of it while I check through all the things that she's done so far. So I hope that the pacing is fixed, but of course, there will be little things here and there which I will go through briefly first. So I'm going to explain what pacing is and why it's important. If you are too lazy to read the blog, this is going to be like the summary. So it's, yeah, as you can see, it's not a super short blog. It's like kind of longish. It's 8 minutes. I wrote this. Yes, I wrote this myself. So there are a lot of things out there on the internet by other writers, traditional published or not, that tells you all sorts of stuff. So you can read through all these things. Right, so this is it. Right, like for example, I even put out masterclass and Reedy's blog, and some of the other things that you can check out if you want more details. But anyways, pacing is important because it leads us to actually understanding several things before it comes to a climax. It makes the climax more impactful in the ways that we need it. That's one of it. It packs a punch. So yes, if you don't have a proper build-up, it's like telling a joke and no one gets it. Alright, and then it delivers the punchline, which is what I'm talking about. So Aina's flavor, as I would describe it, is actually something that I really like when I offered to be her co-writer. So back then she was struggling a lot. It was she didn't study how to write like a lot of writers, so she started with web novels. It's a little bit different because I started as a, what did I start as? No. I didn't start with web novels. I started when I was like 15. Back then I was a competition writer, so that was different. I specialized in writing for writing competitions. And I won some and I lost some, and I was really good at what I did. So pacing is not something I actually struggle with. I struggle with other things that some other writers don't. I struggle with actually delivering emotions, not really like the pacing itself, which is kind of weird. So this pacing actually delivers the punchline that Aina actually does, right? So this is an excerpt taken from chapter 14 that I quoted. Oh, okay, so there's a spoiler here. I'm not gonna like highlight that, so you can read it for yourself. And all these underlined ones over here are actually things that you can check. It is the build-up to get to where it is. So comedy, like I said, is difficult to establish, but Aina is a pro at that. She's like a natural at that. She knows how to keep things lighthearted and everything. So I really like that part of it, except that sometimes when the plot flows towards a more serious event that, it doesn't really quite sink in. So her characters feels more like a doll that you play with rather than a real person. It's kind of hard to connect at certain times, and pacing definitely plays a part in this. Characterization. So powerful pacing, provide intimate details. It's the same thing. So this one you can actually go and read up a little more on how to write smart if that is what you're aiming for, but I'm not gonna go through this, okay? Sense it. Alright, so powerful pacing actually gives you the kind of oomph that you need to bring the reader into a different dimension. It's often what's lacking in most web novels because it is just too fast or too slow, and you just can't get emotionally invested in what the story is. So this is the reasons of why you have to do pacing, why it's important, the uses of it. But if you really want to know and go into details on how to do it, check out these links. Alright, I'm not going to go into it because it's not value-added content, and I only make value-added content to like the community. So that's that. Right, so today I'm gonna go through this, so I'll be talking intermittently while I actually read through this. So it's the first time that I'm reading this after Aina sent me for edit. She's probably sleeping now. Yeah, she's probably sleeping by now. Okay, so it's my first look. Right, so I just want to comment, Aina actually came a long way. She learned how to use what I call deep POV. This is a case of deep POV for those writers who have no idea what it means. It's removing the he said and she said or he thought and she thought into just the first person, but written in a third person. That is deep POV. It's a specialty of mine that Aina has grown to adapt to. The one thing that she hasn't changed is actually putting the speech behind the actions over here. But if that's gonna be her style, I'm just gonna leave it. Alright, so those of you who don't know, orange is Aina, purple is me. Okay, so you should be reading the same thing that I did. And there is one very, very, very obvious flaw in the pacing here. Okay, let's see. In here, there is no introduction, okay? That's the first and foremost flaw. Secondly, from the transition of ending the call to actually getting ready to receive a guest, this is too sudden. Thirdly, when this new character enters the room, there is no real reaction to the interactions of like, okay, if you have two characters, you need to not just write one character's point of view. You have to write both characters' point of view in some manner that they have to use. Like, okay, if you see someone suddenly entering your room, you as a writer, you don't just write from your perspective of the, hey, what are you doing here? You gotta write what you see, what the other person did, what you react to, how you thought, what was your, like, you know, bodily functions and everything, and then your thoughts, and then what you did as a reaction to whatever that just happened as an event sequence. That is not in here. And this is a common mistake, I guess. It's not really a mistake, it depends on how you use it, but this is a build-up of technically what is a comedy scene, except it's not well executed enough. The readers have no time to actually let it sink in. So as you can see over here, Miss Leona Sandy Smith, Zende Smith, Sandy Smith, Leona Sandy Smith, Zonda Smith. Yeah, it's supposed to be kind of like a pronunciation gag comedy, but it's not well executed enough. This 4 lines doesn't make you go like, ah ha ha, no. No, you're just like, what is there going on? It's messy. This is pacing. So, yeah. I'm just doing a first read. And I'll do commentaries as I go along. And then I'll add on the comments and make the changes later. This sentence is clearly written in what I consider passive voice. Okay, apart from English that I will be correcting, yeah, the use of prepositions, sometimes I question it. And feelers, definitely feelers. Redundancy, I call it. Windhoff? Is it Windhoff? Yes, it's Windhoff. This part over here is a very good example of what I mean by English. Like, you get the meaning, but it's not phrased in the way that flows. This is not good English either. Okay, so we were also discussing this. I can't remember what the initial term was, but it was definitely not record book. It was something else, and I was just confused. Was it cash book or something? I was like, huh? Here, this is a very good example of filler. His son Crispin told him that the reason why is redundancy. Can just remove this and say told him the reason, or just told him why. No need that the reason why. This is, yeah, it's redundancy. Wrong preposition. I'll correct this. This over here I'll consider it out of character in some ways. So yeah, it's definitely out of character. So I can see that this is an attempt at comedy, but the tone is not fitting the flow. This part here is unclear. Would substitute, this should be better. So over here there is an attempt of backstory telling to fill in a little bit more of character depth, but I think it should not be forced into the flow of things. Which I did comment and there was a change, but it's still not precise. So this part here I saw that it's fixed because previously there was a plot deviation whereby there's a plot hole and it wasn't made very clear at the start, so she definitely added in that after my comment, which is good, but it's still a little bit in its fixing. This part here again, pacing. There should be an increase of tension over here. And this part here again, I have commented several times. It's heat chopping. I call it heat chopping because it's a cut from one person's POV to another person's cut of a POV, which does not really go well together sometimes. Like here in this line, it's definitely Chief Fedora. Here in this paragraph, it's definitely Ignatius. So there is no bridge between these two. So that's it. Okay, that was first look of the second round of edits, and it's about 1,000 words, which is obviously not well developed enough. If it was developed, it would be extended by about another 500 to 1,002 words. It's possible, we've done it before. Oh, my spine. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so for an introduction over here, what I suggest is actually put in a phone call. And then put in an introduction of what's going on. And who is in here. Okay, today is not my day. I'm like typo. Super typo. Even just now. Alright, so for whatever details that I don't really know that Aina knows better, I'll just leave comments. Nah, the typos are serious. So yes, as you can see, these are my comments here. So this is like one chapter. No, not even a chapter. It's like one paragraph, but I have like 3 comments. So if you imagine like the kind of things that Aina is actually seeing on a regular basis with all the things that she sends to me after she's edited it. And then I send it back and then we re-edit it, so it takes about 4 or 5 times, kind of. Okay, in this case, when she wants to actually, okay, from understanding what she intended to do, what Aina intended to do was to push the agency in a visual form, but it's not so well done. So normally, I don't rewrite directly. I do suggestions, and then she will, most times she takes it, copies it, and pastes it, but this is how I develop the flow. So after an introduction to the person and the scene of what's going to go on, I will put in a little something to give an imagery for the background that they're in. So previously what I understood is that the chief inspector is a very sloppy kind of guy. So what we want to do is re-emphasize that as characterization in here, and then lead to the punchline at the bottom there, which some people may already know, but still it's good to build up to it. Alright, and then over here I'm looking at choice of words. So because of the setting that it's in, rot may not be very appropriate. So in this case that we can see above, he is not exactly angry. So rot is more towards being angry. It's not angry. It's more like mildly annoyed. Like, why can't these people do their jobs right? It's not to get it done. That's the difference. So this part here, when she wants to switch over to a different character, she has to do a bridging. So hearing this is not gonna tell us the position. Instead, what I would do is I would write where this was. So outside. And then I will just remove this because this is pretty obvious. Okay, so from the oops, it's not blue, it's purple. So from the previous chapter, we know that he actually got on his bike and made his way over to the office. So he kind of like barged into this officer's room, which means he knows he's not supposed to do it, but you know, his urgency and emotions got the better of him. He knows he's probably threatening the secretary to actually get a forced meeting that he did not have an appointment prior to this. So he could be a little bit nervous because, you know, okay, realistically speaking, if you were to do this to your boss, you would be charged for insubordination, and well, basically, it's not very good for your resume, your career. You could get fired. You could have, you know, if you're a police, you could have like corporal punishment or whatever not. So, this case, he's being gutsy, and he obviously has nerves. Like he's nervous, and he's not besties with his chief inspector because he doesn't know it. But the chief inspector is like a very important figure to him. So he doesn't know that the chief inspector is like a sloppy, old guy who's forgetful and like, you know, just missing a lot of pieces in his life. Like he doesn't know that. So there is characterization to be improved here, which obviously I will add on for Aina instead. So there is also another habit of mine. So I don't know if this came from writing my regular novels, like self-published before this, or like competition writing, but I like to basically put a line after it. So every time I finish like a description, if it's not a phrase or like a whatever that is in front, like for example a speech in front and then I put these words behind, like if it's not like this, I would always put a line, like next line break, and then move on to the next one. So that's just a habit. So it's cleaner in a sense. It's personal preference. There's nothing wrong if you don't do it. I just prefer it this way. It's clean. And this is kind of missing, so I'll just add in details for the final touch myself. Then over here, just for pacing, because we're gonna shift back to the police inspector again, so I want to, like, you know, put in a little bit more to ease the introduction of switching between the two. It's not a very it doesn't have to be lengthy basically, but there has to be some kind of indication, if you get what I mean. So previously we actually did a little bit of build up from the backstory of this, and then after that there is a small section whereby they said that the chief inspector was looking at the trendy shirt that this young police officer actually wore. So he kind of remembered it from there. So I can actually use that in here to further emphasize and build up on the characterization. Like, this is just a me thing. It doesn't have to be done, but I think it gives the story and fandom and fan base a little bit more things to work with if you keep bringing things back. It's more real. Like, the characters have in like a history, there's some kind of introduction. It's not just a you do A, you do B, and then we go home. No, it's not like you say your lines, I say my lines, we get off stage and be forgotten. No, like you bring it back over and over again. It's also a trick that Oda from One Piece, the manga artist, actually use a lot. So, for example, at the very beginning, one of the villains of the arc is actually Buggy. And Buggy has been repeatedly brought back to the series at different points of the main character's adventure. He's no longer just a side character or like a backstory character. No, he is like someone who's real. Like the world in One Piece that was built is so real despite the arcs. Like moving onwards, all the adventures that Luffy goes through with his crew, actually you can see a lot of these flashbacks and people are progressing with their life accordingly, as well as Luffy going on his adventures. So they all grow at the same time at different places in different like times, but it's something that exists in the same world whereby you don't feel as if one person has just like, you know, is an NPC. Once you're done with the quest, you're never seeing them again. No. It's what makes the difference. It's what's lacking in here. Right, so in between this, all this ding, this like pacing, right? Let me show you how to do pacing right now. So in between this, so how can I help you today, Officer Armand? So if Chief Fedora is speaking, he is going to speak again. So you're going to have to do some bridging between these two. It doesn't have to be very long, but there has to be some kind of description instead of a 1-2, 1-2. What I can do is this. Alright, so this is how pacing is done. In between here, it is a thought process. So Officer Amand is a shifting POV, which obviously we put it in here, and then this is a little bit of a deep POV, so we know what the character is doing, not just what he's saying, but what he's thinking as well. Okay, so in here, what happens is we want to lengthen this a little bit, not too much, just a little bit, because the next one that's coming up is kind of like a comedy gag. In this case, yes, this is how it's done actually. So as you can see, there's a reaction to something that happened. This is what pacing looks like. And you can see the word count over here is already at 1003. It's set at 1001. It's already lengthened by 200. And I'm only on page 1 out of 3. Now it's 4. This is my word cut out for me. Normally, I spend about an hour or so doing just edits. And there's no guarantee that this is going to be finalized. We'll just correct this. Alright, so in this case, usually I just delete it because Aina gave me permission to. Alright, and then between these two scenes, there is a lack of explanation. I would say explanation. There's like a no link between this. Like, yes, no, no, like yes and no, sir. So he didn't actually say much about this. But then the chief actually offered to check, which is kind of weird. So imagine if somebody actually barged into your office and they'd be like, okay, I demand this, this, this. And you're like, hey, this is my personal space. This is my job. This is my time. Why do I have to serve you? You're not my VIP. And I'm your boss. Like, you don't tell me what to do. Normally, in this case, it doesn't make sense. So, out here, what I'll do is I'll ask for a little bit of a push. So normally I tell Aina to write herself so that I can go through, but today is kind of like a stream, so I don't want to add too many things, otherwise this column over here would just extend to like page 8 by the time I'm done with it. So I'll just write it in and I'll leave a comment. So Aina usually studies this and writes it in notes form. Okay, I don't see this below here. I want to copy and paste it. I don't see it. Yeah, so this is like a plot hole whereby there is no indication that Owen actually told the chief inspector that things were different and there's a progression with the case and stuff like that. So yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like below, it's just offered with the information, but you don't really offer information to people when they don't ask. So this is a common flaw as well, whereby the writer thinks as a writer and not as a reader. So yeah, this part is very, very important. Where's the one whereby she wrote is the sad face thing? Where's the sad face thing? Yeah, okay, this part here should be up to here. And like I said before, it was passive, so I'm gonna have to delete this because it's redundancy. Oops. Okay, English here, so I'll change it to something more befitting. I want a synonym for this. Unquestionable. Indisputable. Ah, this is the word that I wanted. Yeah. Alright, and then this is actually characterization of the chief officer himself. So he's not like, although he's sloppy and he's not really good at what he does, he's still a man with a heart. So this is it. And this part would have to, like, you know, would have to change a little bit. And now it's like 1,470 words. So we started at 1,001. That's like about 300 words of expansion here, if you can see that. This is what I regularly work with, and yeah. So over here, it's kind of like a justification of the reason of this sentence, which I don't think is necessary. And this is also a side information, which can actually be summarized. So the crafting is not as tight. There are two things in writing that has to be done without questions. The first is to deliver with clarity, and the second is with accuracy. It is neither clear nor accurate here. Okay, I would suggest to delete here. Okay, so I want to suggest this and bang. Alright. So if we write this here now, it would be this and this. Clearly, the young man had the audacity to barge into his office because he found a new lead on the case. It would be too suspicious to tell him they did not find any leads for the missing girl. However, he also could not afford to let this hot-blooded officer snoop too closely into Defoe's family's dealings. Chief Fedora knew better than anyone else the kind of trouble that followed curiosity. And Alvin wasn't the kind of man who would stop when he was told. So yeah, this is how chapters are fixed. These would be way shorter without that, and for the record, it's like 1.5 thousand words right now. Just 2 pages. Out of what was 3, and now is 4. I might not be able to finish this tonight, I don't know. I still have like a good halfway more to go. That is pacing, guys. So if you wanted a live demonstration on pacing, this is how it's done. We need to rephrase some of this. Right, so the reason why I actually split this down, because this has nothing to do with the speech above. So you can actually punctuate this. It's a pacing technique, doing a long sentence with an action to actually draw the reader to a more visual focus of what they were doing. So it sets both the environment as well as the tone. For example, we found Miss Smith. Yes, this pun is still in here again, in the Loan Shark's death record. So you can see how I actually twisted the lengthiness of what was written previously into this. And then I punctuate this using a visual representation. So initially it was something else. I can't remember what I changed now. It's like, what, midnight, past midnight? 36 minutes past midnight. But anyways, so pulled out instead of took out or something like that. And then beneath the mountain of documents, not just a pile of paper. So mountain of documents. Mountain was deliberately chosen and pulled out. So yeah, it means it takes some kind of effort. And then this came in a while ago. So assuming that the name is wrong, that's like highlight 1. And then pulled out mountain of documents, that's like highlight 2. And then you guys can think about it by yourselves. Came in a while ago. So how did it get that deep down between like all the piles of paper and documents if it came in a while ago? So that is something that, well, yeah, that is just something to think about. So all these things are actually crafted and it is deliberately done so. when I'm writing. Like for me, it comes in fast. For new writers, it may not be as quick, but practice makes better. Not perfect, but better. You can never be perfect in writing because there's so much to learn. And from this to that, oops. There should be some kind of indication of reaction from the person who was receiving it. It's like a kind of Holy Bible kind of thing. Yeah, it's like salvation to them. When on the flip side, you have someone who sees this like throwing a dog biscuit at a dog. So you want to have this highlight and contrast, which is something I often do in writing as well. It's lacking presently. But yeah, it is possible. So I like to do things like this. Basically, slightly crumpled, received with both hands. So it's a huge contrast of the tattered condition that it is in, like trash, and then received it with both hands, like a high respect towards something that is, seemingly doesn't actually deserve this kind of treatment. So I like to do this kind of things in my writing. It's a very, I would say, Aitsuji style. So if you read some of my works, a lot of my works actually, they contain this. Just a spoiler. It's not gratitude, it's gratitude. So this thing is like a reaction and a hope kind of thing. So Elwin has a very, I would say a little bit more naive outlook. Like he's a very starry-eyed, justice upholder kind of police officer, whereby he only wants to do good for the world, and that everything is either black or white. So there isn't a real gray zone for this character called Elwin, which is why he is in this kind of situation. So he thinks that all people working for a justice department are good people. So he would never assume, or like it never crossed his mind that this could be something done out of ulterior motives. So this is the reaction that I'm writing it here. It's called characterization. So all these things, as you can see, was brought back from the previous chapter that we wrote on. So it's important to actually build links and bridges and actually bridge it across the entire story and not just within the chapter or within the arc. This itself builds some kind of reality in the world that you have, which is something lacking that I see a lot when Aina writes. So I fill it in for her when I can, or I tell her to redo it. But honestly, I'm getting very tired of redoing. So as you can see, if you take a look at like the color saturation over here, it's like purple and then orange and then purple, purple and then orange, and a lot of it is actually purple. So I added more things to actually smoothen the flows. Alright, so the initial one that was orange was one line, and this kind of ended up how it is. And we're at 1.6k words right now. It started at 1.1. Just counting. Alright, in this case, I think it doesn't really fit into it because, like I said before, that it feels very forced. So yeah, I would suggest deleting this completely. So in here, I would rewrite this. And also it's storming outside. Why don't it some of money? It's the money she had been paying every month. Ah. Okay, the part over here that says he never ceased to remind her that he would be. Never ceased can be replaced with constantly. Okay, watch how this sentence transforms. Okay, so it was transformed into this thing. Not the best, but good enough. Alright, and then down here, this is the link for the next thing that they're going to say. And this over here, the depression part, is the reaction to this so that it feels a little bit more human. But this entire paragraph, as you can see, involves two people. The first person is Alwyn, and the second person is Shifuga. Basically, this is a bridge. It's not very long, but it's effective in like, you know, bridging between these two so that it makes sense, like compared to earlier. If you remove this bridge and you just read, so Leona didn't want to impose or to bother or impose on him. Leona didn't want to bother or impose on him and would rather show the burdens alone. And then you read the speech of someone saying maybe she escaped due to her deaths. So without this over here, this sounds very sudden. It's like a jump scare, and you don't want that when you are reading something. You want the flow to actually bring you across smoothly, like a tour guide. You don't want to be thrown like in the middle of somewhere, given a compass and told like, okay, teleport here. Like not even walk, just like straight up teleport there. It's not gonna happen. So this is pacing. This is what I mostly fix. By the way, the word count is like 1.7 right now. We started at 1.1, so it's 600 words. Alright, and then this part over here is a lot of details, which honestly, I don't like details, so I'm gonna remove this. I like to keep things open to imagination so that we have room to work with in future. Unnecessary amount of details is something I learned. Gives rise to potential plot holes. Do not specify unless really required. Apart from that, just the general gist of how it works is fine. Right, so this part here is rewritten from just now. So as you can see, some things get longer, some things get shorter. So I adjust accordingly. Alright, in this part I would suggest to delete. Right, so there is a place and time for everything, and in comedy, timing is everything. This is not the right moment, not yet, because there's another one that's coming up, and you really want people to feel sorry for them before you hit them with a truck like a, oh, you didn't see that coming. Yeah, so this build up here is not the best. I would suggest removing this first in order to not ruin the surprise. You need time for surprise to set in, which is what we're building first. Right, so this over here is actually the punchline to it. So the build up from here, okay, let me just show you where the build up is from. The build up is from here. Okay, so we have like this much of build up before we get to this. So the whole time this chief was under the impression that she was his girlfriend from all the way up here, actually, even. Can you see this build up here? Who told him to fall in love with a woman that his boss wanted? He could only wish that, I guess. So he already had this over here, but there was no like communications between it, and Alwyn didn't know. He was like in the dark the whole time. So this is the punchline of miscommunication. Miscommunication is actually a very good technique for building up comedy as well. So yeah, you can use that if you know, if you are writing comedy and you don't know how to, well, this is one of the ways. So this is good enough of a reaction. So this part here, the POV, and then this is a reaction, and this is also the POV. So this line is good enough, just good enough. And over here we just want it to be flustered, so it's not really you know, it's not a real depression kind of thing. It's like oh hell no, yes but also no moment of, you know, flustered. Basically I can only think of the reaction as flustered to correct the misunderstanding, because there is a misunderstanding, and when you're trying to correct the misunderstanding, but you also well, if you basically you need real life experience to write this. I don't know how many of you have real life experiences to write this, but I've seen enough friends do this to know. So yeah. Alright, this is too much explanation, so it kinda kills the joke if you have to explain it, which is why we're going to remove it. So, in here, there is also something. Okay, pacing can be done in a few ways. So one of the ways to actually do pacing is making it longer, or on the opposite side, making it shorter. Before this, most of it I've been making it longer, as you can see, but here, because of a punchline, we're gonna try and make it shorter. Okay. So this kind of builds on to his a little bit housewifey, office gossiper kind of vibe. So yeah, you have Chief Fedora. It's a very typical kind of co-worker if you work in an office. Like this kind of colleagues actually exist in real life. If you haven't met them, you might be lucky. And this sentence doesn't actually make a lot of sense. Lady was not her boyfriend. The lady is not a boyfriend, it's a girlfriend. And there is no equation to be made. So in this case, I would suggest something else, which is here. Right, so instead of aren't you overthinking about this matter, which is honestly very direct and very judgmental, we want to tone this down to keep his character a little bit more on the sloppy side. So instead of that, I suggested the line, why would you be so concerned over just a friend? So it's kind of like hinting on, are you sure you're not dating kind of like the gossipy housewife or like the annoying aunt who always ask you about things when you're gonna get married in Chinese New Year or like family gatherings? Yeah, that's the vibe. So in here, you gotta add reactions. Again, this is pacing. No, it's 1.7k, it started at 1.1k. Right, so I actually changed some of the scenario over here to kind of fit the thing. So the gist of it is actually about a calling in the phone and the suspicions of it. But yeah, more importantly, it's the vibe that they gave off. Like before that, the vibes were very forced. I would say it feels very forced. Right now, I'm kind of like blending it in. It's like when you do makeup, it sometimes looks terrible because you do not blend it properly, or like the colors don't fit your skin. That's exactly the same. Alright, and then I'll just suggest to entirely delete this. So change track the trace, changed the eclipse to this. So it's 1.8k words. And yeah, it was 1.1. Alright, so this entire thing I'll suggest rewriting itself. So over here, it's a deep POV indicating his a little bit messy and forgetful personality. So instead of saying that he forgot, asking a question actually shows that he forgot. So it's a show versus tell thing. Alright, and then in order not to spoil the surprise, I would suggest deleting this. Alright, and then over here, a little bit of elaboration for pacing is good. Then for pacing, cut this out as well. Putting a little interjection. Right, so by adding levels of details over here in deep POV, it actually gives like the tension before this comes in. So what we're trying to do is create a scenario of unpredictableness for this actual pacing and plot to sink in. This is the punchline. instead of I'll do my best over here, there should be some form of affirmation. Because Ignatius is not gonna be a yes man. And honestly, I don't think Ignatius is going to be the kind of person who will reply good, so yeah. I'm gonna remove this. Okay, and I honestly think that we can do without this because we already switched scenes over. So it doesn't make sense to give a one-liner to another scene there, and it can be done without it. So we can already imagine this without this. So I'll consider this redundancy. And it's interrupting the flow commonly. And over here, we can actually rewrite some of these. So I'm gonna be, oops. Oh, hi Talise. So like, I will be sleeping soon. But I just decided to do a stream to actually highlight how to do pacing while writing. So this is like my second edit for stuff. And I'm doing it right now as like a demo for the e-course that I'm making. Right, and then at the end over here, I want to put a little bit more emphasis on the romance part of this story, which is kind of odd that Aina doesn't do it, even though she's a FL, aka romance writer. So she does a lot of strange other things that are not really exactly romance related, and I'm just wondering, like, why? So yeah, I'm not good at romance, but I try. So this one-liner should be good enough to wrap up the entire chapter, and it's like 1.9k words. And reminder again, we started at 1.1k words, which means I've extended this by 800 words. Like I said, it would be about 500 to 800 words by the time I'm done with it. So this is like second edit, so it's not gonna be like completely done. So Aina will like go through all these comments and then take notes in her notes file on the learning points. And I did this stream, so I actually explained my thought process of it, so she might watch it. If you're watching Aina, please don't be discouraged. It's just how I work, but it is considered a huge improvement from when we first started. That was really not at a level. So she's like starting to see what I see right now. There's just a lot of things to work on and some habits to correct over. So patience is not one of Aina's strongest points, which you can see from her writing. So a lot of things, especially her pacing, is rushed. That's because of lack of patience. That's all I can say. But for everything else, I think it's great. It's getting there. It's improving. I think I spent about an hour doing this. So yeah, it's considered way less than I used to spend. I used to spend like 2, 3, 4 hours maybe on like one single chapter, because there was that much work to go through. But today it's kind of like semi-relaxed. I even have time to commentate on stream, so it's not that bad. Except like, you know, if you take a look at the colors, it's probably like what, 60% purple and like 40% orange, if I'm being honest here. Yeah, just a quick scroll. No, not even 40% orange, because a lot of it has been rewritten and a lot of it has been expanded, and only a hint of what was original could be seen. Yeah, this is why I didn't want to write on chapter 23. Like I try to keep 90% of it in orange for Aina to actually see. So we actually spent more time on that. But tonight's stream is for demonstration purpose. So I actually rewrote a lot of things that I would normally ask her to do it herself, until I'm satisfied with what I see. Right, but this chapter is also actually good to go. So I have a few more chapters that Aina is currently working on. So she's doing like multiple series like myself at the same time. So I don't expect her to come back to me anytime soon. And it's been a while since this stream for Mafia Boss has been done. I decided just to do it today. So last announcement for all these people before I go to sleep is that tomorrow at 9 p.m. my time, there will be a stream on like my second channel. We're gonna play Gothic Phone with Overlord Venus and his Discord server people, so feel free to join. I will send the link of it. I'll send the link of it on the stream tomorrow itself instead of the Discord server, so all the people on stream can join. So I'm not sure, like recently there has been a spike in number of likes, but I have no clue who they are. I just saw like one comment earlier today for like the afternoon stream while I was doing Technoblades writing fanfiction, that they saw some of my old content that they followed, and I'm not sure what they're referring to. But anyways, if you want me to do any new kind of content stream, let me know. Not next Friday, this Friday, we also have another guest coming on this channel itself. That's gonna be Doc Akui. She's gonna be talking about manuscripts. So you've seen the one about Scrivener. This one is gonna be about manuscript, which is the free version of Scrivener, kind of, maybe. So I'm not sure because I've not seen it before. I don't even know of its existence until I talked to her, and she's like, yeah, okay, I'll like demonstrate with some of the things that I've done. I'm like, yeah, please do. So that's gonna happen on this Friday, so feel free to join if you can. And that's all for today. I think I need to sleep like now. Bye.